The first time he whispered it, the entire pack thought it was a lie. You don't have to fear me. The words were spoken softly, almost gently, but they came from the mouth of the most feared alpha in the Northern Territories. In the shadowed forests of Alpha Kale, wolves did not whisper. They commanded, they roared, they broke bones and claimed territory. And Kale was known as the most ruthless of them all. The girl they sent to him, her name was Lyra Vale, an orphan Omega from a lesser pack that had recently lost a border dispute. Weak bloodline, no political value, no power. When the treaty was signed, the condition shocked everyone. No gold, no land, no warriors. The Alpha of the North wanted a bride, and he chose her. The night the decision was announced, Lyra stood at the back of the gathering hall, hands shaking, heart pounding so loud she feared others could hear it. She had seen Kale once before, from afar, tall, broad, scar carved across his jaw, eyes like molten silver when the wolf stirred beneath his skin. He had watched her that day too, not with hunger, not with cruelty, but with something far more terrifying. Interest, the wedding no one celebrated. The ceremony was held under a blood red moon. The entire northern pack gathered, torches lining the stone courtyard. The air smelled of pine, smoke, and tension. Lyra wore white, not because it symbolized purity, but because it symbolized surrender. She walked alone, no father, no mother, no packmates brave enough to meet her eyes. When she reached him, Kale did not smile. He did not bare his teeth. He simply studied her trembling hands, and then, slowly, he stepped closer. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The Alpha rarely allowed anyone near. But instead of gripping her chin, instead of forcing submission, he leaned close enough that only she could hear him. You don't have to fear me. Her breath caught. No one had ever said those words to her before, not in kindness, not in promise, but his voice was low, controlled, like a storm held behind a dam. The ceremony ended with the binding cut, a shallow slice across their palms. Blood met blood, the bond flared. The wolves inside them recognized each other instantly, and Kale's wolf growled, not in dominance, in protectiveness. That was when the murmuring began. The walk to the Alpha house, the Alpha's estate, stood at the highest ridge. Black stone, iron gates, and guards who bowed the moment Kale approached. Lyra expected him to drag her, to claim her immediately, to prove to the pack that she belonged to him now. Instead, he walked beside her, slow, measured, giving her space. When they entered the grand chamber, the doors closed behind them with a heavy final thud. Silence! Just the crackle of the fireplace. Lyra's pulse thundered. This was it. The wedding night? The moment everyone whispered about. Would he be gentle? Would he be cruel? Would he show the monster everyone feared? Kale removed his ceremonial cloak and set it aside. Then he turned to her. Up close, he was even larger. Heat radiated from him. The wolf beneath his skin stirred restlessly, reacting to her scent. She braced herself. But instead of touching her, he knelt. The most feared Alpha in the North knelt before his trembling bride. Her breath left her lungs, his silver eyes lifted to meet hers. You were given to me like payment, he said quietly. I will never treat you like one. Her throat tightened. I won't touch you unless you ask me to. The world seemed to tilt. This wasn't how Alpha marriages worked. This wasn't how power functioned. He rose slowly and stepped back. You may take the bed, he continued. I will sleep by the fire. Shock spread through the pack estate within minutes. Servants whispered. Warriors frowned. The beta demanded answers. Because when dawn came, Lyra walked out of the chamber untouched. And Kale's scent around her was not possessive, it was protective. The rumors began by morning, the entire Northern Territory buzzed. Had the Alpha rejected her? Was she too weak, too small, too Omega? But what no one saw was the moment in the night when Lyra woke from a nightmare. Shaking, crying, and found Kale already standing beside the bed. He hadn't been sleeping, he had been guarding. He didn't touch her, he only whispered again, You don't have to fear me. And this time her fear wasn't of him. It was of how much she wanted to believe him. The pack is already questioning their Alpha's strength, the beta suspect's weakness, and enemies are watching the North for signs of instability. But what no one expects is what will truly happen on the second night. And why their wedding night will soon shock everyone for a reason no one sees coming. **** Part 2. The night the alpha bled ***, the second night was never supposed to matter. In wolf tradition, the first night sealed dominance. The second night sealed loyalty. But in the stone halls of the northern estate, something far more dangerous was beginning to form. Trust, ### the watching eyes by midday. Rumors had reached ***, Bader Ronan ***. Ronan had stood at Kale's side for 15 years. He had seen him tear through rival alphas. He had seen him hold territory when 3 packs attacked at once. He had never seen him hesitate, and yet you did not claim her, Ronan said flatly, standing in the alpha's war chamber. Kale did not look up from the territorial maps spread across the stone table. She is not territory. Ronan's jaw tightened. The pack believes you rejected her. A low growl vibrated through the room, not loud, but controlled. I reject no one under my protection. Ronan hesitated, then prove it. The words hung heavy outside. Warriors were whispering. Omegas were confused. The North had enemies waiting for weakness. If the Alpha could not control his own mate, what else could he not control? ### Lyra's choice. Lyra had not meant to overhear, but walls in the estate carried sound. She stood in the corridor, hands trembling as she heard Ronan's words. Prove it. So that was what this was. She was a symbol, a test, a political reassurance, the softness in Kale's voice from the night before suddenly felt fragile. Dangerous. When she returned to their chamber that evening, the sky outside had darkened into storm clouds. Thunder rolled over the mountains. Kale was already there. He looked at her once, sharp and assessing, and instantly knew something had shifted. You heard? It wasn't a question, she nodded. Silence stretched between them. Then she did something no one expected an Omega to do. She stepped closer. If claiming me protects your pack, she whispered, voice shaking but steady in resolve, then do it. The air changed. The wolf inside Kale surged violently, not in hunger, in fury. He closed the distance in a single step, not to dominate, but to cage her in protection. I will never use you to silence doubt, he said, voice rougher than she had ever heard it. But I am not afraid of them, she said. His silver eyes flared. I am. The confession struck harder than any growl. You think I fear hurting you, he continued quietly. You think that is weakness. He stepped back suddenly and removed his tunic. Lyra gasped, not because of desire. Because of scars. His entire torso was marked with claw wounds, burn marks, and deep gashes, long healed, but impossible to ignore. They call me ruthless, he said. They do not know what I restrain. Thunder cracked outside as his wolf pushed against his skin, eyes briefly flashing gold. When I lose control, he whispered, I do not stop. Lyra's fear returned, but not of him, of the burden he carried alone. ###. The attack, the alarm horn shattered the moment. A single long blast from the watchtower. Kale's head snapped toward the window. Border breach. Within seconds, warriors were running through the halls. Lyra's heart pounded as Kale grabbed his sword. You stay inside, he ordered. But she saw it then, the flicker of conflict in him. He didn't want to leave her. I won't be afraid, she said softly. Something in his expression changed, not dominance, not command. Trust. He shifted mid-stride, bones cracking as fur erupted over muscle. The massive black wolf burst through the doors, joining the pack outside. From the balcony, Lyra watched chaos unfold below. Rival wolves, lean, gray, vicious, had crossed the northern ridge. They had been waiting for instability, waiting for weakness, and they believed they had found it. ###. The moment that shocked them all. The battle was brutal. Teeth, blood, snow-torn crimson. But the turning point came when one of the invading alphas broke through the line and lunged straight for the estate. For her, Lyra froze. She could not outrun him, could not fight him. The gray wolf leaped toward the balcony, and something massive intercepted him mid-air. Kale, but this was not the controlled alpha from the ceremony. This was something primal, terrifying. He tore through the rival wolf with a roar that shook the mountains. Bone cracked. The invader fell. And Kale did not stop. Warriors backed away. Ronan shouted his name, but the Alpha was no longer hearing them. The red haze of battle had taken him. His wolf stood over the fallen enemy, breathing hard, eyes burning gold. And then he turned toward the estate, toward Lyra, toward the scent of fear. Gasps rippled through the warriors. If he lost control now, if he saw her as prey instead of mate, everything would end. Lyra's legs trembled. But instead of running, she stepped forward, down the stairs, into the snow. Ronan tried to block her. "Are you insane?" But she walked past him, straight toward the monstrous wolf. Kale's head snapped up. A growl vibrated deep in his chest. Warriors prepared to intervene, and then she spoke. "You said I don't have to fear you." Her voice was small against the storm. "But you never said you wouldn't fear yourself." Silence. The wind howled. The wolf's breathing slowed. One step closer, another. She lifted her shaking hand and pressed it against his blood. "Matted fur, you're still you," she whispered. The gold in his eyes flickered. Silver returned. The monstrous Alpha lowered his head, and in front of the entire northern pack he knelt. Not in dominance, not in ritual, but in surrender to her touch. The warriors stared in stunned silence. The Beta exhaled slowly, because the true shock of their wedding night had not been that he did not claim her. It was this, the only thing powerful enough to calm the most feared Alpha in the north, was the Omega everyone called weak. That night back in their chamber, Kale stood before her, human again, silent, shaken. "I could have hurt you, but you didn't." His hand hovered near her cheek, not touching, asking. This time she closed the distance, and placed his hand there herself. The bond between them pulsed warmer than before. Not forced, chosen, and outside those stone walls, whispers had changed. The Alpha was not weak, he was controlled. And she was not a payment. She was his anchor. But the North has many enemies, and one of them now knows exactly how to break him. Through her, the wedding night that changed the North by the third night, the North had stopped whispering. They were watching, not with doubt anymore, with anticipation. Because word had spread beyond the mountains, the feared Alpha had knelt before his Omega bride. And in the wolf world, that meant only one thing. He loved her, and love was weakness. The message in blood at dawn, a wolf's severed ear, was nailed to the northern gate. A mark burned into the wood beneath it, the crescent sigil of Alpha Verk, ruler of the eastern ravine. Ronan tore the message down himself. "They're baiting you." He told Alpha Kale in the war hall. "They know about her." Kale's jaw tightened, but his voice remained level. "Then they will learn what that means." Lyra stood near the window, silent as frost gathered along the glass. For the first time since the wedding, she understood the full weight of being an Alpha's mate. She wasn't just his anchor. She was now his target. The truth about the bond that evening, Kale did something no Alpha had ever done. He called the full pack assembly. Torches burned in a wide circle around the courtyard. Snow fell in soft spirals from the dark sky. Lyra stood at his side, not behind him. The pack noticed. They always noticed. Kale's voice carried easily over the wind. "You question my control," he began. "You question my marriage, and no one dared interrupt. You believe strength is measured in dominance." A pause. "You are wrong." Murmurs rippled. Then he did the unthinkable. He reached for Lyra's hand in front of everyone. Not to display possession, but partnership. "My wolf does not bow to fear," he said. "He bows only to what he chooses." His silver eyes softened as he looked at her. "And he has chosen." A collective shiver passed through the pack, because wolves understood what that meant. A chosen bond was stronger than a forced claim, stronger than blood, stronger than law. The confession, later that night, in the quiet of their chamber, Lyra finally asked the question that had haunted her. "Why me?" The fire cast gold light across Kale's scars as he stood near the window. 3 years ago, he said slowly, "Your pack's territory was attacked by rogues." Her breath caught. "I was the one who drove them back." She remembered that night, the massive black wolf that appeared from nowhere, tearing through enemies like a storm. "I saw you then," he continued. "You were hiding children behind the granary." She blinked. "You were bleeding." he added quietly. But you did not run. Silence filled the space between them. I chose you because you were not afraid of danger. His eyes met hers. I chose you because you were braver than I am. Her heart stuttered. You fear losing control, she whispered. He nodded once, and you fear being unwanted. The truth settled between them like something fragile and sacred. For the first time, there were no pack politics. No whispers, no expectations, just them. The real wedding night it happened, not in frenzy. Not in dominance, not in spectacle. It happened in stillness. Lyra stepped closer first, not out of duty. Out of desire. Cale's hand rose, hesitated, and she pressed her palm against his chest, feeling the steady thunder of his heart. You won't hurt me, she said softly. He closed his eyes briefly. Not unless you ask. A breathless laugh escaped her. Then don't hold back. Something changed in him then, not a loss of control, but a surrender to trust. He kissed her slowly at first, testing, asking. She answered, and when his wolf surfaced, it did not roar. It purred low and protective. The bond between them flared warm and golden instead of violent red. Outside, the guards stiffened, sensing the surge of alpha power. Ronan looked up toward the chamber window, eyes narrowing in realization. The alpha was not asserting dominance, he was sealing a chosen bond, and when Lyra's scent shifted, no longer fear, no longer uncertainty, the entire northern pack felt it. A wave of power rippled outward from the estate like a shockwave, stronger than any roar, stronger than any claim. The ground itself seemed to hum. Warriors dropped to one knee instinctively. Omegas gasped, because what they felt was not lust. It was unity. The alpha and his mate were fully bonded, not by blood ritual, not by pressure, but by choice. And that kind of bond made an alpha nearly unstoppable. The shock that followed by morning news had already spread to the eastern ravine. Alpha Verk had expected weakness. Instead, his scouts reported something impossible. The northern scent line has changed, they told him. Changed how? Verk demanded. It's stronger. Because when Cale stepped onto the balcony at dawn, Lyra at his side, something in him was different. His presence filled the mountains, not wild, not unstable, balanced. The wolf inside him was no longer fighting restraint. It was anchored, grounded, empowered, and when Lyra moved beside him, the pack parted instinctively, not because she was fragile, but because they recognized what she was now, Luna of the North, not given, chosen. But power like that does not go unchallenged. And Alpha Verk is not done. If he cannot break Cale through fear, he will try through betrayal, and someone inside the northern walls is already listening to the enemy. The betrayal beneath the moon, the first sign of betrayal, was not loud. It was not dramatic. It was a missing patrol. 3 northern warriors failed to return from the eastern ridge. By midnight, the snow had begun to fall again, soft, deceptive, covering tracks like secrets. Inside the estate, Alpha Cale stood rigid before the fire, while Beta Ronan delivered the report. No bodies, Ronan said grimly. No blood, just gone. Cale's expression darkened. Someone opened the lower pass gate, Ronan added. Silence, only 2 wolves held authority over that gate. Cale and Ronan. Ronan's jaw tightened. It wasn't me. I know, Cale replied. That left one possibility. Someone inside the inner circle had access. Someone trusted. The scent of lies, Lyra felt it before anyone told her. A shift in the air. The estate felt wrong. As Luna, her senses had sharpened since the bond sealed. She could now feel fluctuations in pack emotion, anxiety rippling like static. She stepped into the courtyard just as Cale returned from inspecting the pass. His gaze found hers immediately. Always, there's a traitor, she said softly. His brow lifted slightly. You feel it too. It wasn't a question, she nodded. There's guilt in the air. Ronan approached, lowering his voice. We interrogate the guards at dawn. Cale shook his head slowly. No. Both Lyra and Ronan looked at him. If there is betrayal, he continued, it will surface under pressure. He turned to Lyra, and tonight we apply it. The Feast of Allegiance, an announcement was made before sunset. A full pack feast under the moon, to celebrate the Alpha and Luna's completed bond. The timing was deliberate. Strategic. Torches lit the courtyard again, but this time the atmosphere was different, electric, charged. Lyra wore deep silver instead of white. Her hair fell loose down her back, and the scent of her bond with Cale shimmered in the air, warm, powerful. Cale stood beside her, radiating controlled dominance. The pack bowed in unison, but not everyone lifted their eyes. Lyra scanned the crowd carefully. There, a flicker, a hesitation. One of the inner guards, Darius, avoided her gaze. His heartbeat was too fast, his scent too sharp. Fear, not of Cale, of being discovered. She leaned closer to Cale, whispering without moving her lips. Third row, left. His jaw flexed almost imperceptibly, the unmasking mid. Feast. Cale raised his hand. Silence fell instantly. Tonight, he announced, we honor loyalty. A pause, and punish betrayal. The temperature seemed to drop. Darius stiffened. Cale stepped down from the stone dais slowly, deliberately. He walked through the crowd like a predator moving through tall grass. Calm, certain, he stopped directly in front of Darius. Tell me, Cale said mildly, how much did Alpha Veric offer you? Gasps erupted. Darius staggered back. I don't know what you... Cale grabbed him by the throat and lifted him effortlessly. Your scent carries eastern pine resin, Cale said coldly. The ravine marks their letters with it. The crowd murmured violently. Ronan stepped forward, fury blazing in his eyes. Darius panicked. They said you were unstable, he shouted desperately. That the Omega controls you, that the North would fall. Silence crashed down like a hammer. Cale's grip tightened. And you believed them. They promised power. The next moment happened so fast most wolves barely saw it. Darius shifted partially, claws extending in desperation. Cale shifted fully. The massive black wolf slammed him to the ground. But he did not lose control. He did not rage blindly. He pinned Darius beneath one massive paw and looked toward Lyra. Waiting, the entire pack held its breath. The decision was hers. Luna judgment. Lyra stepped forward slowly. Darius's eyes widened in terror. You betrayed your pack for power. She said evenly. He trembled. You will live. Shock rippled. But you will be exiled beyond the frozen border, she finished, and you will carry the mark of betrayal. Cale's wolf rumbled approvingly. Ronan nodded once. Justice without cruelty, strength without chaos. Cale shifted back into human form, voice icy. Leave before sunrise. If you are seen again in Northern Territory, there will be no mercy. Darius scrambled away. And just like that, the rumor of weakness shattered completely. The private storm later, when the courtyard had emptied and the moon hung high, Lyra stood alone on the balcony. Cale approached quietly behind her. You spared him, he said. She nodded. If we rule through fear alone, we become what they expect. His arms slid around her waist, not possessive, but grounding. You were magnificent tonight. She smiled faintly. You didn't lose control. He leaned down, brushing his lips near her ear. You are the reason I can. For a moment, peace settled over the mountains. But far to the east, Alpha Veric listened to the report of Darius's exile, and he smiled, because exile was exactly what he wanted. A marked traitor returning with detailed knowledge of northern defenses. The betrayal had not failed. It had evolved. The real shock 2 nights later, Lyra woke abruptly, not from a nightmare, from pain. A sharp, burning sensation across her palm, the bond mark. She gasped. Cale was awake instantly. What is it? The bond? She whispered. It's pulling. His expression changed. Bond pain meant only one thing. The mate was being targeted. Or claimed, somewhere in the distance, a wolf howled. Not northern. Eastern. Cale's eyes turned lethal silver. They're attempting a forced claim ritual, he said coldly. Lyra's blood ran cold. They can't. She breathed. They can try. Because there was an ancient law older than pact treaties. If a rival alpha managed to draw Luna blood under ritual challenge, the bond could be fractured. And Veric had just issued that challenge. The next full moon will decide everything. If Cale wins, the North becomes untouchable. If he loses, Lyra will belong to the enemy, and the shock that follows will change more than just one pack. It will change the balance of power across all territories.